Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. If you're wondering why this is a horizontal video, I'm just going to show you the run while I talk about the different team comps and why I use certain espers, for example. But that will just be for the rest of the video, so use the timestamps if you want to avoid my rant a little bit right now, because I'm going to use the start of this video just to rant a little bit. It's not about doom posting or anything like that, it's just my own feedback on how Sentinel Hunt is right now and what I hope it could be in the future as well. Okay, so I'm going to address the main big elephant in the room, which is now that it is actually possible for everyone, okay, I wouldn't say everyone, but I'll say it's possible for even free-to-play players to even get EX++ on a regular basis, depending on whatever bosses, right? So if that's the case, let's say everyone in the game has finally somehow managed to get EX++ on all of their teams. And then the issue here is that it's going to be very easy for you to rank because you're always going to clear the bosses with like the best output ever, right? All of you guys are always going to get 45 points every single attempt, which means that every single club in the game is always going to perform its best. And yes, this is actually raised by GG Easy in one of his earlier videos. I'll link it down in the descriptions below if you guys want to check it out. But he made a really strong point. So if in the future this situation happens, then what happens to the game? Or at least what happens to Sentinel Hunt? So there is no end game, like he said, right? There is no end game in Sentinel Hunt because it's so easy. Okay, I would say it's so easy for you to attain the best score in this particular club content. And because it's based on just obtaining EX++ and not obtaining a finite score, so players don't really have a reason to want to get more than 5 million points, for example. So like maybe getting 6 million on average, that's like good enough and you're not even going to bother about the content ever again. Then in that situation, what happens is that how the club ranks are formed is just based on whoever uses their blitz fast enough, right? So for example, all these players out here, as you can see, these guys have like a completion time of 17 cheats, and that completion time is actually recorded here. And why this is a problem is because this does not allow clubs to be competitive aside from how fast they can blitz content. So if you're able to log in at the server reset time and just crank out all of your runs instantly, then yes, your club is always going to score very high because they did it first, as opposed to some other stronger clubs out there, for example. And I myself see this as a huge problem because this definitely affects the competitiveness of just players even thinking about wanting to be competitive in this in the first place. Like, okay, so what if our club is strong? We are just going to lose to another club that is also strong enough to beat this content, but yet at the same time, they are faster than us. Or maybe they have a better server reset timing. Like our server reset timing is probably at like 3 AM, for example, right? Not me, but like, yeah, let's say some players have their server reset at like maybe 3 AM. They cannot wake up to blitz this content fast enough, so it becomes a problem of who has the better time zone. And I can completely agree with this. I feel like this definitely needs to be looked at again. I think it shouldn't be based on your EX++ or like your EX or whatever. I think it should at least be somehow based on your points, which then translates into the energy damage that you deal to the bosses. I feel like that's the fairest approach to this, that makes this more of an endgame content, which makes higher level clubs a little bit more appealing as well, even though at the end of the day, you don't really benefit all that much by beating other players, for example, because whatever that you're gonna get, it's really just this avatar frame, right? That's about it. Like, that's it. But yeah, at the same time, I feel like this definitely takes away from, detracts a little bit from the competitiveness as well, which I feel like they need to take a look at once again. So anyway, I hope they think about something and they address this, and I hope they at least talk about this and offer some suggestions on how they want to improve on this in the future. But that's it for my rant. There is not much that I want to say right now, so let's just go ahead with the rest of today's video, which is all bosses EX++. So we're gonna start off with Phobetor, alright, and we're gonna take a look at all of my espers used and all of their relics as well, and why this works. Now, the way Phobetor works is simply just a matter of dealing as much damage as possible, controlling him as much as possible, and just sleeping him, and that's about it. Like, that's it for Phobetor. There is really no room for healing here because I feel like instead of bringing a healer, it's a lot better for you to bring controls. So that's why in all of my teams, you do not see me use a healer at all. None. But of course, that's only because I have some of the espers built. You might not have so many espers built. And if that's the case, then yes, of course, just use a healer for the time being, unless you can fully build them up as well. Alright, so every single one of your teams, like I said before, they need to have some kind of disease. I mean, disease is like maybe the least important debuff. Sleep is the most important debuff. No, wait. AP reduction is the most important debuff, followed by sleep, and then followed by the rest of your debuffs, and then disease. I feel like disease is really not that important, because if you can control him very well, then that's basically it. But I know it's still best to just bring disease, which is why on all of my teams, I have defense break, I have AP reduction, I have speed up, I have diseased, I have a lot of stuff. Okay, so for example, I have Sander here, who is just really good at AP control. Let's take a look at his stats. So here you go, just speedy with some accuracy, just so that he can AP reduce. And I have Brewster as well for the AP reduction on his third skill. The buff locker is not important. but he has a lot of defense break on his first skill as well, which is really, really good to have. So here is his kit, and I think he should at least be a little bit faster, even if he's at like R2 and above. I think he should still be a little bit faster as well. So here's stats of Embla. She's gonna be my Disease Esper on her Corrupted Seed effect. And she also has defense break here, and of course on top of that, just like a lot of damage. And that's about it for her, like that's her role here. And then next we have, yeah, we have Nusi. Okay, we have Nusi for the speed up buff, for the AP push, for the AP reduction on her first skill as well. And this is not so. Actually, this is not important at all. This doesn't really do anything. I don't think so. The boss does not have any buffs. I think I might be wrong about that, but honestly, I don't really care because as long as I can get EX++, right, I get like maybe an 8 million on average. If I can do that, I don't really care about mini-maxing. I just need to beat at least 5 million, and that's about it. And finally, I have Abigail, who is my Sleep Esper. So she's gonna sleep on her first skill, which has a 100% proc chance, although she don't really use her first skill all that much because she prioritizes a lot of buffing because she's on oh, she's not on Ocean here. Okay, fine. She's on the Wind set, so she is still going to sleep every once in a while, but ideally, you should have more sleep on this setup. I don't have a lot of sleep, and it's something that I need to take a look at just to improve on this a little bit. Alright, so now, on to Team 2. So the same thing, right? Parmi is going to be my AP reducer and a guaranteed sleep Esper at R6. So this part over here, if an enemy is not stunned, which you cannot stun Phobetor, then you inflict sleep on them for 1 turn, and this cannot be resisted. So she's always going to guarantee sleep. So if you're going to be running her, it might be a good idea to use Ocean on her. The Ocean set is able to cycle her third skill more, and she's going to spam sleep a little bit more efficiently. So yeah, something like that. You may or may not want to build her as a DPS, that's totally up to you. If you're only going to be using her for this content, then yeah, you do not need to run her as a DPS. Now next we have Joser. He's going to be my defense break and my disease Esper as well. The disease comes in his passive, so whenever he has bull rage charges, he will inflict disease, which cannot be resisted as well. So on my second team, the sleep and the disease debuffs are like perpetual. I mean, not say perpetual, but they're always guaranteed to land, which is very nice. Now Xiaoyin, unfortunately, he's very slow because of the way I'm using him for Chronos. So ideally, you might want to have like at least plus 50 speed so that he can take more turns, right? Because he's going to be one of the most important Espers here for absorbing AP on his both of his second and third skill whenever he's in a stealth state. Yeah, so that's how he works. If you do not know why he's so good, I did a Xiaoyin video just like a couple of months ago. You can go ahead and check it out. And then we also have Steward with the sleep on his, I think his third and his first skill, right? Yeah, 2 of his skills inflict sleep over here. Yeah, something like that. So he's gonna do enough DPS, that's for sure. Especially since we have the defense break coming from Joser. Now moving on to Sienna, this is going to be my AP somewhat of an AP reducer on her third skill. But of course, at the same time, she provides the speed up buff, which is very key for my team, and the attack buff as well. So we want to take a lot of turns, AP reduce the boss as much as possible. And of course, her first skill also grants AP to some of my Espers as well, which is really helpful. So all in all, Team 2 is also pretty complete. I think Team 2 is a little bit better than Team 1, although they do have their issues. Like Xiaoyin is too slow and Abigail is not enough for sleeping. And now I have the third team. So we're going to start with Ira. I put her at the first spot because she's going to just keep spamming the second skill on herself, which reduces her cooldown so that she can continue AP reducing and then spamming the Divine Love. Sorry, I mean spamming her Brisingament's Watch, right, on all your allies. So there is going to be a lot of buffs that she provides. And we are going to abuse the Brisingament's Watch as well. And what we understood from the Desolate Land videos that I did in the past is that whenever allies attack, right, they don't need to take additional turns. Whenever they support, whenever they, not pursuits, but whenever they assist, or they just take double turns. Like for example, Zora, right? So Zora over here, when she uses her third skill and she goes straight into her, she pursues into her Keenage, sorry. So if she pursues, it's actually going to be recorded as 2 supposed turns, which would push the Brisingament's Watch AP twice, right? As you can see here, this Brisingament's Watch buff. At the end of an ally's turn, the carrier's AP plus 15%, but somehow Zora actually boosts the carrier by 30%. And Gaius as well, he takes multiple turns because he transforms. So Zora and Gaius are going to work very well with Ira, so that's why they are here together. And of course, I didn't mention this, but Zora has the defense break, and yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, she also has the disease on her first skill. Yeah, so she's also my main disease Esper here. But who is my sleeping Esper? That's going to be Celine. We're going to talk about her in just a bit. So let's take a look at Gaius' stats. So his stats is just pretty much just DPS, just at least plus 50 speed, and that's about it. That's pretty much all he does, although sometimes he's able to land the Seer debuff that he has on, I think, he's supposed to have it here, right? Oh, sorry, it's his passive that provides the Seer debuff. Yeah, so in his human mode, he will provide the Seer debuff for us as well for more DPS, which is kind of handy. And then we have Alice over here. Now Alice provides us with the speed up buff, like I said, right? So speed up is very key. And of course, her normal attacks causes allies to support as well, which further promotes the efficacy of Brisingament's Watch. So this whole team is just focused on the Brisingament's Watch, and that's about it. So now Celine is going to be like the last Esper here. with the speed up as well on her second skill, I mean, right? And she has a 2-turn sleep on her third skill, which is really very helpful. And of course, she AP reduces as well, which is perfect. And she also sleeps on her first skill, which is very, very, very helpful. So yeah, so these are my 3 teams. I hope this was enough for you. Let me know if any other questions for Phobetor, but anyway, let's move on with the next boss. Okay, so next up, we're taking a look at Countess Sonica. And while my score is not like the best, right? So as compared to Phobetor, my score is like not as high, but this is still quite consistent. So let's take a look at why this is the case, right? Let me just show you my stats in a bit. Alright, there you go. So 5.5, 5.7, 5.8. It's quite consistent. Okay, this thing dipped to 4.5 because this was before I swapped some espers around. So right now it's pretty consistent. And of course, this is my first attempt. Now, let me explain how this works first. So the idea behind Countess Sonica is that she has 2 phases, right? Her first phase is the phase where you can AP reduce, and is the phase where you cannot heal, you need to cleanse, and of course on top of that, you need to use a defensive esper to deal damage. That's about it. And my preferred defense DPS esper in this case is going to be Joser because he has a defense break on his third skill, which allows him to do a lot of damage on his third skill. As long as he lands the defense break at least, right? So you need to have like a good amount of accuracy just to be more consistent. And into her second phase, all that really matters is you need to bring multiple hitting espers. As long as you have multi-hitters, that's going to be great. As long as you can prevent the damage that she does during her charge form, that's all you need to care about. Because it's not just so important for your DPS espers, it's also quite important for your supports as well. You need them to survive, and in that phase, that's where they take a lot of damage as well. So that is going to be the idea. Now let's take a look at our first team, which is going to work differently from our second and third team, because our first team is going to enable the boss to enter into her second phase. So our first team needs to deal with her first form. So what are the espers that we need on our first team? We need a lot of AP reductions, we need cleansing, we need defense buff as well, just so that our Joser can do more damage. We need defense breaks, and on top of that, I think, yeah, that's about it. Just a lot of AP reductions, which we have in the form of Sander and Lucas, who is like chef's kiss, dude. Okay, anyway, let's take a look at Sander first. So, I mean, we have already taken a look at Sander in the Phobetor run, in case you just skipped to this part at least. So here you go, here are his stats, a little bit of accuracy. More accuracy, the better, right? Now, next we have Celine. She's like the best esper for this team. Like the best esper for Countess Sonica Team 1. If I'm going to compare her to Dark Starlord, I think she's like a combination of both Kara and Biondina in that sense. So here are stats. She can work with accuracy because she can AP reduce on her third skill, but it's not super important. But her main usefulness is her speed up buff and the dispelling that she provides as well. This is not just going to remove debuffs, this is going to heal your team by a lot. Now next we have Jinyu Yao, who is also going to be another cleanser. You can use Catherine as well. I think they work equally fine here. Now these are her stats, not super overtuned. And honestly, you don't need a lot of HP as well. You honestly don't need all of these stats. You can run with an accuracy slot 4 and it's still going to be fine. So yeah, just accuracy, speed, HP, something like that. That's about it. Done. Now, Joser, you need to build him as an offensive DPS esper. So the way that I find works really well for me is to go crit damage, defense, and defense. And I think this is like chef's kiss. So give him as much accuracy as you can, and the rest should go into full crit rate. I only have 95, which is not good enough. It's not super consistent. The best is to have 100%, and the rest goes into crit damage and of course your defense as well. Next up, we have Lucas, and he's going to be super OP for this content. So the way you want to make him work is to make him super fast so that he keeps absorbing AP, because he absorbs twice, right? On his third skill, he also absorbs, and on his first skill, dude, this is like so broken. This is so good. So he's going to be like the main AP reducer on this setup, and he's like much better than Sander. But the thing is, Sander does bring the speed lead, which is very, very crucial. So yeah, that's it for Team 1. And now let's move on to Team 2 and Team 3, where their goal is just multi-hitting. And that is basically it. So just multi-hit, protect yourself, do as much damage before you die. That's about it. I know I keep saying that's about it, and I'm sorry that I keep saying that's about it. It's like a really bad habit, but yeah, that's about it. Okay, so first we have Yunchuan. And here are his stats. So his goal is because of his passive. So whenever any one of your allies attack the boss who has this third eye seal debuff, he's actually going to follow up with one extra attack, and that's going to add on to their multi-hit stack. So that's very important. And another thing that a lot of people tend to forget, I mean, okay, it's just me, okay, I blame myself, okay, I forgot about this as well. His third eye seal, which cannot be resisted, actually applies miss rate up, 15% of it, which is insane because his first skill also applies miss rate up for a total of 65% if you have both of these debuffs on the boss at one time, which is super helpful for your survivability. So Yunchuan is the best. Now some of you guys might also be thinking, okay, what about Brewster? Is Brewster good? No! Brewster sucks balls. And the reason why Brewster sucks is because while he supports the same way that Yunchuan does, he does not have multi-hits on his own kit. So he's gonna die super fast. Trust me on that, I tried it, I regret it. Oh, maybe that's why, yeah, that's why I got 4 point something million. Yeah, blame me on the Brewster. Okay, anyway, this is the way that you want to build him. Of course, you don't have to follow this setup. You can use Ocean on him, it's fine, so that you can cycle his third skill more for the extra speed up. That is going to be very helpful as well. Now next we have Ophelia, and somehow I feel like Ophelia is bugged. But her damage output is insane. Like, she can do upwards of 400,000 damage. And the reason why I run her on Astral is just because of that. So like when I use my third skill, this does a shit ton of damage, and on top of that, I'm just gonna Astral into my second skill, which can sometimes do like 100,000 damage. It's insane. Don't tell the devs. They're not gonna watch so far, don't worry about it. And then now, our next Esper, we have Gabrielle here. So she is going to be pretty decent in this case, especially with Ocean. I think she works really well with Ocean in this sense. Just for the immunity, just for the defense buff, and some of the defense breaks as well. Very, very handy, very helpful, very supportive, yeah. Yeah, I mean, she's a support, right? Now, next up we have Dahlia, and you don't need her to be super fast. I use her on like one of my spare win sets. And of course, her goal here is just the slow, and on top of that, the attack buff, and a little bit of, I mean, the crit buff is not really necessary, but I guess it helps in case your relics are like not that good, right? And of course, finally, we have Ahmed, who also multi-hit. So yeah, I forgot to talk about the multi-hit. Okay, so Ophelia has a lot of multi-hit on her third skill, right? So yeah, it's always gonna land. Gabrielle has a lot of triple hits, and on top of that, we have Yunchuan to support, so she has 4 hits. Dahlia has triple hit on her second skill, so with Yunchuan, she has 4 hits as well. And Ahmed's first skill, triple hits as well, and so we have a total of 4 hits. And of course, during the second phase, all of your skills will reset in cooldown, except for Ahmed, because his third skill doesn't actually get affected by a cooldown increase or extension or all that kind of stuff. But for the rest of your Espers, all their skills are going to be ready, which means you're going to spam them at the start, so it's always going to work. So that is my second team. Now let's move on to my third team. Now I'm using Louis here just to test, but his DPS is okay. I feel like Chloe is a little bit better, but my Chloe is super slow, so I'm not going to use Chloe in this case. But I do highly recommend you to use Chloe, especially if your Chloe has about like at least plus 50 speed. That's going to be great. So I have him on just a typical DPS kit with a broken 2-piece set over here. And then we have Sally, and the reason why I'm using her is, believe it or not, right, take a look at it, we're on Astral. And the reason why we're on Astral here, when we enter the charge phase, she might actually lose her third skill buff, right? But we need her to instantly draw another turn so that she can buff her third skill again, because all her cooldowns are going to be reset, right? So the goal for Sally is to be perpetually on her third skill buff at all time, her Sweet Harbor state. So it doesn't matter that this skill is not increased at all, right? It doesn't matter that our cooldown is not reduced by 1, because whenever we enter the charge phase, this skill is going to go up. So the right way to build her, I think, for this content is to make her super slow, or not super slow, but like at least about plus 30 speed. And on top of that, maybe Astral is a good choice because, yeah, like I said, right, during the charge phase, she might actually double take a turn so that she can reapply her third buff, her third skill. But then again, of course, she might also get your team out of the buff. But that's basically why I have a little bit of speed on her, so that she probably can take like at least 2 turns over here so that she can reapply it or something like that, right? But anyway, if you guys do not know, well, most of you guys know, but the damage mitigation that this Sweet Harvest provides is 25%, which is very helpful. And yes, she will not be able to multi-hit. That's unfortunate because she's going to be in her Sweet Harvest state. But if you have Sally on R6, then yeah, she's probably going to go into her first skill very easily. And of course, if you have her at R6, then making her super speedy is ideal. Now let's move on to the twins. So very typical, just speedy DPS with some accuracy, and that's about it. As for the white twin, the way I built him is just pure support, just pure speedy support, and that's about it. Ocean set as well, just to spam his third skill, so that the black twin can follow up with more of his third skill as well. And of course, we have Alice here, and that's about it. That's the end of our third team. Oh right, I forgot to mention. So Alice, right, when she calls an ally to assist with her first skill, she's most likely gonna call either Louis or Sally, who both triple hits, right? Which means that she's actually gonna gain 4 complete stacks when she successfully calls an ally to assist. So yeah, every single Esper on my second and third team are going to hit 4 times. Alright, now we're going to end off with Dark Starlord, and he's pretty much the same, except that now he's a little bit harder to beat because of the power boost that he has. So all the bosses in this Sentinel hunt does have power boost, which means that the amount of damage that you deal to the boss will hit certain milestones, right? Certain thresholds. And when you hit those thresholds, that's going to give the boss a power boost, which increases his damage, increases his speed, increases his defense, like all his stats go up a little bit. So that's the reason why your scores are not going to be like 20, 30 million anymore. It's going to be a little bit more toned down. So right now I have it at like 6.7 mil, which I think is honestly just good enough because you just need to hit 5 million and that's about it. So I've talked about this so many freaking times. If you want a clearer idea, please just refer to one of my older videos and it's going to work. So my first team is going to work for his first phase, and my second and third team is going to work for his second phase. Alright, so here you go. These are the stats of Meredith. These are the stats of Biontina. I don't really have to commentate, I'll just keep showing their stats. Alright, yep, that's about it. This is like the fastest Sentinel hunt boss explanation. But yeah, so that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any other questions, leave it down in the comment section below. Ideally, you just need to hit 5 million points and that's about it. That is also the main issue with the Sentinel hunt right now. In most cases, it is quite easy to manage as well. But yeah, with that said, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to thumbs up. It really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now with that said, this has been Dairy Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Alright, you know what? I'll just put the links down in the descriptions below as well so that you can find the Dark Star Lord necessary videos. Hopefully that helps you.